Welcome back, everyone. You are listening to the Study English Online podcast, the place where real English meets real life. I'm Sophie.
And I'm Ryan. And if you're watching or listening to us right now, first of all, thank you. Genuinely, it means a lot.
It really does, because we know you have 1,000 things you could be doing right now, and you chose to spend this time improving your English. That is not small.
Not small at all. That is actually a big deal. So welcome.
And today's topic is one that I think almost every English learner on the planet has experienced at some point.
At some point, try every single day.
Fair. Every single day. Because today we are talking about something that feels like a total mystery when it's happening to you.
Yes, the mysterious gap, the confusing space between two very different things.
Exactly. Because today's topic is this: why you can understand English perfectly, but the moment you need to speak, your mind goes completely blank.
Ah, there it is.
You know that feeling, right? Someone speaks to you in English, you understand every word, you know what you want to say, you have the idea clearly in your head.
And then, nothing.
Nothing. Silence. Just you, the air, and a face full of panic.
A beautiful, terrified face.
Very beautiful, very terrified. And this experience, this gap between understanding and speaking, it has a name. It's called the receptive-productive gap.
Which sounds very official and academic.
Very official. But what it basically means is that your brain has two different skill sets. One for receiving language, listening, reading, understanding, and a completely different one for producing language, speaking, writing, expressing.
And the gap between those two skill sets can feel enormous.
Enormous is the right word. And the frustrating part is most learners don't even know this gap exists. They just think they're bad at English.
Which is heartbreaking, actually, because they're not bad at English. Their understanding might be incredible. Their vocabulary might be rich. Their grammar knowledge might be solid.
But their brain hasn't yet built the fast, automatic road from thought to speech.
I love that image, a road, because it's not that the destination doesn't exist, it's that the road hasn't been built yet.
Or maybe the road exists, but it's not smooth yet. It's bumpy, it has potholes. You can drive on it, but it's slow and uncomfortable.
And when you're in a real conversation, you don't have time for a bumpy road. You need a highway.
Exactly. A fast, clean, automatic highway from your brain to your mouth. And that highway, that is what we're building today. Not just talking about the problem, but actually understanding how to fix it. And of course, we're doing all of this through natural English conversation. So, as always, don't panic if you miss a word or two. Just stay with us. Let the language flow into you.
Yes, let it settle. You don't need to understand every single word to benefit from this episode. Your brain is picking up patterns, rhythm, vocabulary, and natural expressions even when you don't realize it.
Which is actually the perfect bridge to our topic, right?
Perfectly connected.
So, before we go deeper, let's also say this is approximately a B2 level episode. The language is natural and a little layered, but we'll always keep it warm and clear. You're safe here.
This is a judgment-free zone.
A completely judgment-free zone. Okay, but before we get into the real conversation, we want to ask you something, and please answer in the comments.
Yes, please. We read every comment. Seriously.
Here is the question. Have you ever been in a situation where you understood everything someone said in English, but when it was your turn to speak, you froze?
Or maybe you responded, but it came out wrong, slow, or not the way you wanted.
Tell us, when did that happen? Was it at work, on a trip, in a class, talking to a stranger? We genuinely want to know.
Because your story matters, your experience matters, and hearing from you honestly helps us make better episodes for you.
It really does. All right, and if you're enjoying the Study English Online podcast, please make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you never miss a new episode. We put real heart into every single one.
We do. Okay, Sophie, let's get into it. Let's really dig into this topic.
Let's go. So, Ryan, let's start with something that I think surprises a lot of learners. Because when most people study English, what do they spend most of their time doing?
Reading, listening, watching videos, maybe some grammar exercises.
Right. All of those are input activities. You're receiving information, you're consuming language.
And that is incredibly valuable. Don't misunderstand. Input is essential. You cannot speak what you have never heard.
100%. But here's the thing. Input alone, no matter how much of it you consume, will not automatically make you a fluent speaker.
And this is where a lot of learners feel confused and even a little betrayed. Like, I've been studying for 3 years. I've watched hundreds of videos. Why can't I just speak?
Because watching and speaking use very different parts of your brain and very different muscles, literally and figuratively.
Yes, when you watch or listen, your brain is in a kind of reception mode. It's absorbing, organizing, matching patterns. It's doing a lot of work, but it's essentially passive.
But when you speak, your brain suddenly has to do everything at once. It has to find the right words, build the sentence, think about grammar, manage your pronunciation, keep track of what the other person just said, all in real time, all at the same time.
And it has to do that in less than 2 seconds before the silence becomes awkward.
Under social pressure, while someone is looking at you.
Oh, and while your heart is beating a little faster than normal.
Yes, the stakes feel high. And when the stakes feel high, the brain tends to freeze rather than flow.
So it's not that your English is bad, it's that your brain hasn't practiced the full production process under real conditions often enough.
Beautifully put. And this is so important to understand because so many learners blame themselves. They say, I have no talent for languages, or my memory is bad, or I'm just not a speaking person.
Which is not true. It's not about talent, it's about practice type.
Exactly. You have been practicing the wrong kind of skill for the goal you have. It's like someone who wants to run a marathon and they spend all their time reading books about running. They know everything about running.
But they've never gone outside and actually run.
Right. And then on race day, they're confused why their legs are tired.
Which sounds obvious when you put it that way, but in language learning, people do this all the time without realizing.
All the time. And to be fair, it makes sense because studying, reading, watching, taking notes, it feels productive. It feels safe. You're improving and no one can judge you.
Ah, and there it is, the word I was waiting for, safe.
Yes, because speaking is not safe in the same way. Speaking is vulnerable. You put your words out into the world and someone can hear them and judge them.
And for many learners, that fear of judgment, that speaking anxiety is enormous, sometimes much bigger than the actual language gap.
Oh, absolutely. I think speaking anxiety is one of the most underestimated challenges in language learning.
Because it's not just about language, it's psychological, it's emotional, it's connected to how you see yourself.
Yes, when you speak a language badly, you can feel, for a moment, like a less intelligent, less capable version of yourself. And that feeling is incredibly uncomfortable.
And so the brain does a very logical but very unhelpful thing. It says, if speaking makes you feel bad, let's just not speak.
Problem solved, unfortunately.
Very unfortunately, because the only way to get better at speaking is to speak.
Which feels like a cruel joke.
It does. It really does. You have to do the scary thing to stop being scared of the scary thing.
But here's the good news, and we do have good news. The fear shrinks every single time you do it anyway.
Every single time. You speak once, even badly, even nervously, and your brain records that information. It says, we survived that.
We did it. Nobody died.
Nobody left the room in disgust.
The world continued spinning.
And gradually, your brain starts to trust the process a little more. The fear doesn't disappear overnight, but it becomes smaller. It takes up less space.
And you start to realize something powerful, that people don't judge imperfect English as harshly as you imagine they do.
This is such a big one because in your head, you imagine everyone is listening to every mistake, every mispronounced word, every grammatical error, and mentally grading you.
Like there's a hidden scorecard
A detailed scorecard.
with red marks. But in reality, most people are just trying to understand your meaning. That's it. They want to know what you're trying to say.
Exactly. Communication is about connection, not perfection, and most people appreciate the effort of someone trying to speak their language more than they notice the mistakes.
So that fear of judgment, a lot of it is a story we tell ourselves. And like all stories, it can be changed.
It can be rewritten. Slowly, yes, but it can be done.
Okay, so let's talk about the internal experience for a moment, because I want to talk about something that almost every intermediate learner experiences, and it's incredibly frustrating.
Oh, I think I know what you're going to say.
It's the experience of thinking in your first language first, and then translating into English.
Ah, yes, the translation trap.
The translation trap is real, and here's what it looks like. Someone asks you a question in English. First, you understand the question in English, great. Then you think of your answer in your native language. Then you try to translate that answer into English. Then you check if the translation sounds right. Then you say it.
By which time the conversation has moved on.
Or you've missed the moment. Or you've said something that is technically correct but doesn't sound natural at all.
Because you were doing 4 mental processes in the time a fluent speaker does 1.
Exactly. And this is exhausting. People say learning a language is tiring. This is why. Not because English is so hard, but because the brain is working 4 times as hard as it needs to.
So how do you get out of the translation trap? How do you start thinking directly in English?
Great question. And it's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. But there are things that genuinely help. The first and most important one is you have to start thinking in English in your daily life, not just when you study.
Yes, this is huge. Use English as a tool for thinking, not just for studying.
For example, when you wake up in the morning and you think, I'm hungry, I want coffee.